Hello and welcome to my 408 build. So far I haven't assembled anything yet, just finishing off the block and just got it from the machine shop. The machine shop have done everything on this block, so I will not go through any tolerances or measurements because it has been done on this engine. So for me it's only to assemble it, and today I'm going to put in the camshaft. This engine will have a roller camshaft, a competition camshaft. This is a retrofit cam, a little smaller diameter of the base circle. Quite radical. I don't remember exactly the lift, but if I remember the part number is XR282. This cam is not new. I have had it for about 3-4 years, 5 years maybe. I don't know how far I drive it, but it's almost nowhere, and that's the big advantage with the roller. You don't get almost nowhere wear on the rollers, and you don't have to bother of extra zinc in the engine oil to protect the globes and so forth. It's just to drive. Also, I don't have to lube it now in precaution for first run-in. I will only lube these areas where sitting in the so I use this assembly lube. You can have engine lube, engine oil if you like. The advantage with this is if you know the engine will sit for a while, this will stick on for a long period of time, but it will flush off quite easy when you start up the first time. Here's the tip when installing. Take an old bolt and shove it in here. In that way you get a good grip when installing it. So let's do that now. I don't want to nick the bearings, so take it easy. It's not a big deal, this. If you don't have the bolt here, you will have some troubles to. You need to lift it in here and so forth. I don't need that now. Here also important to lube the distributor gear. It's a good. You can do it later if you want, but I do it now. I use MSD lubricant to protect gear in the startup. Figured this engine assembly will work. There we have it. Nice and smooth. Next step is to, well, if you have a new cam, you have to push in a dry pin for a fuel pump if you run a mechanical fuel pump. Otherwise there are two types of dry pin, one shorter for electric fuel pump and this one is for mechanical fuel. Okay, I will talk a little about the thrust plate for the camshaft that I will mount now, and it's not a big deal, just a simple plate marked back bottom, so you can't go wrong here if you can read. So to this you must use Loctite. I use blue Loctite. Any type I figure will do, but one thing I can say about these are they are sometimes different, and this is a regular thrust plate, and as you can see when I mount this, it does not cover these holes. Ford has sometimes looks like this, and they do cover these holes. And for those of you who will use press-in plugs, press-in oil plugs like this, it could be a good idea to use this type because it will secure the plugs not to come out. I don't know why Ford has different types, because I have seen blocks that have screw-in, press-in plugs, and they use these types. So I think they found some sand to spare and stopped manufacturing this type. I have no idea. Well, in my case I have screw-in, so I don't need the extra security, so I will use this new one. They often come with the new camshaft chain I bought from Ford Racing, and then this was in the box. So I will use this. Put on some Loctite. That's it. Such much a big deal. Perfect. I strongly recommend every one of you to have the block to a machine shop to check everything, to check the tolerances between the mains and line hole and everything. Check the bearings and have them corrected, not the bearings, but have the mains corrected and stuff like that, because you can't do it anyway in your home. You don't have the correct tooling and machines and so forth. So always have it to a machine shop. Never, even if you have an engine that works perfect and you somehow want to rebuild it and throw in new bearings and think it will be okay, don't do it. Have it to a machine shop anyway. You never know what you can find. So, enough said about that. As you can see, this block has studs. It will be a 500 horsepower engine, so RP studs are my favorite choice for this. These studs you have much higher load capacity than stock bolts, and you can reuse them as many times as you like, so that's why. This block has also the newer type of one-piece rear main seal. Actually, it's the first time for me to install a one-piece seal. I think I've done 10 of these engines, both 351 and 302s, but all of them have been the old classic two-piece design. So the one-piece is much better. Never, or I don't know if you can install it wrong also. So, well, time for bearings. Try to have everything quite dry when you put the bearings on, and also use gloves when working with bearings, because you don't want to put your fingers on the bearing surface, because you have acids and other stuff that can affect the bearings. So use gloves. This has been assembled one time already in the machine shop, so that's why it maybe looked like. And this you can't go wrong. You just put them on the small tab here. I always wipes everything one extra time before I install it. You never know what can hide in these. Some debris, so carefully inspect everything before putting it on. Well, as you see, I use paper. I don't know if it's a bad thing or but this is an extra strong paper that it's not like toilet paper or so it's use something that I think cloth is not as good as paper. Also, don't use a hammer to put this in, because you deflect everything. And time for the crankshaft. This piece is quite new. It's new. It's never been in a engine before. And I had it balanced at the machine shop, together with the pistons and the rods. The same here. wipe everything once extra to make sure you have no debris. I like to have it completely dry just before I install it. Okay, time to put some oil in. You can use assembly lube here if you know the engine will sit for a long period of time. I prefer the old school here before. Just regular 50 weight oil, nothing fancy here. Nice. And it's running real smooth here. You should feel no resistance at all in this. Should be even. Should take a better. The block has been notched here. I don't know if you can see it. There, it's been ground off to clear the rods because of the extra stroke that this crank has. As I said before, this is a 408 cubic inch crank, so it has a this is moved further out, and thus the rod will come closer to the cylinder bore here. So every bore has to be notched just slightly, not much. Put in the studs. About studs, these should be only hand tightened down. You should not force them with any torque or something like that in the bottom. Just hand tighten it to the bottom. That's it. The nut will do the rest of the job. This you can't do wrong if you look at the markings here. There's an arrow here and number 1. This is number 1 main and forward. So, not a big deal. So the story about the one piece main seal here. This I have no experience with before, so I figure you can comment if you like, but I figure I will not torque this completely before. I will press on the seal and torque down the main after that. So now I will just place the main it. Now this is RP bolt, and they recommend you to use assembly lube. You can use oil if you want, but do as recommended. You will get the correct torque specs. These you also when you don't forget to put on the nut here. You get friction between the washer and the nut, so it's messy, but mandatory. To save this for last. So now this is important to feel this. You can actually do some punches to set the bearings correct. This feels really good. By the time you have done a couple of engines, you get the feeling of this when it's okay or not. It's just an so let's talk it to RP specification, 110 foot-pounds. Go for 90 first. I usually start with the middle ones and go clockwise. I don't know if it's really matters. push. That's it. Still smooth as fits there. Okay, so now to the main seal. This cap is still loose. Okay, time to put on the rear main seal. This is the first time for me, actually. I always install the old type with the, so I bought Ford Racing. I always try to use Ford Racing products. I think they are very good quality. So I figure I install it with the main cap off and use a slight amount of assembly lube here. I like this because it sticks, and if the engine sits for a long time, it's do not disappear. I will use a very light amount of RTV. I'm not sure if it's needed or not, but I figure I'd play safe here and I don't think it's necessary, but tiny amount will not hurt. Should be just to pry on carefully, really easy. I think I take off the excess. I always use a small dab here. Where the mains meet each other. That's it. A lot easier than the split seal roller style. in 2 steps. That's it. Let's try it. In next video with the pistons and rods. I can show you. Here's the main girdle. Check this. It's a nice piece, aluminum from DSS Racing, California. I haven't tested it yet, so it's clearing. And here is, it's a very thin material here. But what counts is the total area that creates stability for the mains not to moving around so much. So the only job this do is to keep the mains from moving around a little. So it's not so much a strengthening thing, not more than stability, more stability thing. And that's important when you have a stroker engine, because everything is moving around a little more, since increased stroke moves mass more. Looks nice. So see you in part 5.